Okay, happy Wednesday. I'm recording this video in the evening. We had our live online session, but there was a lot going on and it wasn't really about the content. So instead, I'm offering this as a chance to provide you a little bit of a recording to give you an idea of what are the highlights of this week's course material. So this week, after we've now discussed in general about muscle tissue, we'll actually start looking at individual skeletal muscles. It's important for you to know them throughout the body for quite a few different fields where you might go from this path. Again, I'm starting quickly with a checking. I want to outline the plan for the week, and then I want to quickly provide kind of like a nutshell review. The full lecture material really covers the individual muscles that you'll be studying. And I think that today we'll also venture a little bit of having a look of the example of homework that you might be exposed. So again, I've been using this book by Pueblo called Inward, and the thought that I got was your friends who have the courage to expand their wisdom and self-awareness, they are special, keep them close. I think that that really speaks to the fact that we want to be growing, we want to be learning, and that's a great message for us when we think of why we're doing the work that we're doing. So this week, like I mentioned, even during last week, this week is a little bit busier week. I have 4 types of assignments for you to complete. You have traditional chapter quiz, you have traditional chapter practice anatomy, then I have that short answer essay, the food for thought. You'll be looking at pulled hamstring injuries, and then we'll finish off by doing a simulation, looking at shoulder and elbow movements. I think that those simulations are a good way for us to get a little bit of that lab experience in this virtual setting as well. As always, I ask you to complete these assignments by the end of the week. I'll be offering also a discussion forum so you can engage there if that's helpful for you. So when we're going through this chapter's material, one of the things that many of my students find very useful is as they're studying each individual muscle is to use some kind of a visualization, whether it's a handout, and I provided you handouts on your Canvas course, or whether it's otherwise that works for you, but try to look at each muscle by themselves. And as you're going through them, I think it's going to be helpful for you to identify, connect them, where it's located, where it starts, where it ends, what kind of movements it creates, and so on. So hopefully you'll be able to find the resources that best work for you. I wanted to give quickly a couple of tips for learning muscles. Remember, we can get a lot of information about the muscle based on the name of the muscle. So read the description and also identify the muscle in the body. It is really useful if you can relate the muscle to its location, its description. That often gives you a clue. Also, the muscle's location and attachment points are useful for us. So those attachment points, thinking where it's at, allow us to understand the function of the muscle as well. And I really, really encourage you to act out the movements of those muscles when possible, maybe even feel on the surface of the body. That helps you to appreciate where and how those muscles are located and what kind of movements they generate. When we're naming skeletal muscles, there's quite a few clues in the name. Often the name can tell us about the location of the muscle. The example that I've highlighted here is temporalis muscle. It tells us that it's located where your temporal bone of the skull is. The shape of the muscle might be also told in the name of the muscle. So deltoid, the triangular shape, that might help you there. Size, we see, for example, we have gluteus minimus, gluteus medius, and gluteus maximus. So if we have multiple muscles of same area, same type, the size might be the clue in the name. The fiber direction as well, we can see, for example, rectus abdominis tells us which way the muscle fibers are running. We can look at the number of origins for the muscle. So biceps brachii would be a good example of that. So BI2. We can look at the attachment points of the muscle. One of my favorites is your sternocleidomastoid muscle, so running from your sternum, the manubrium of the sternum, to the mastoid process of the skull, and then back to the clavicle, forming the triangular muscle of the neck. Or we can even look at the name for clues of action that the muscle does. So flexor digitorum superficialis, it tells us that it's a flexing muscle. We also see that it flexes fingers, and it's a very superficial muscle. Sometimes we even put multiple of these clues together in the name. For example, extensor carpi radialis longus muscle tells us it extends, it's located, crosses the carpal bones, located along the radial bone, and it's a long muscle, things like that. We can also look at the fascicle arrangement of the muscles. So circular arrangement tells that they form this nice circle around, for example, orbicularis oris. The convergent muscle fibers start as a broad area and come together and join into a small attachment point. Fusiform muscles, they might have they fuse at the ends. They might have a thick muscle belly, but fuse kind of towards the end. Parallel muscle fibers, the fibers run pretty much the entire distance parallel. Pinnate muscles, how many of these we might have unipinnate, bipinnate, or multipinnate, to how many central connective tissue they connect to. So a bunch of information there for us. What I want to do at this point is to jump out of this screen, and let me just refresh my screen here, and we're going to have a look of examples of the assignments that I have for us this week. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea what to anticipate. So let's go to chapter 10 quiz, and let's share that screen. Jumping around here, moving around a little bit. I think we have our screen ready there. So we have few questions for you to work through. Drag and drop here, for example, we're seeing really nicely related to what we just discussed about. We can classify muscles based on their fascicle orientation. So you drag the muscles to the appropriate spots. We can also complete sentences. So supraspinatus muscle lies in the supraspinous fossa of the scapula. So really choosing the best option to make this sentence correct. We could also work on, I have quite a few of those sentences, but also indicating characteristics for each muscle or its term that it's named based on. Here we see, for example, the attachment sites, fiber direction, or even number of heads that might be helpful as we're trying to understand those muscles. Going to the examples of the practice anatomy questions that I have for us this week. Since it is heavily anatomy oriented chapter, I have more of those types of questions for you this week. So you're being shown diagrams, and again, you're labeling those structures. We're seeing the frontal belly of the occipital frontalis muscle that crosses over the head. We're seeing platysma, the neck muscle, important for males, especially shaving muscle is how I sometimes describe it. Hence is the skin of the neck. We see our pec major, the big powerful chest muscle. You see really nicely how it's a convergent muscle there. Biceps brachii, brachioradialis, or external obliques. and so on and so on. So really a chance for you to apply what you've learned. Use these activities also as a chance to learn. So don't think you just need to know the answers, but use them often as a way to work through the material, to make sense of the material that you're covering. Again, a bunch of information there that hopefully will be helpful. Um, I really think the best way to learn the muscles, it is memorization largely, but is by putting them together and putting them together in relation to other muscles. So I encourage you to take some time to work through this. I know it's a little bit more intense in anatomy, this chapter is, so that reflects on the homework as well. You see that I kept the quiz rather short and I've emphasized the practice anatomy questions on this week. So lots there for us to work through. You'll look at different things, and I think that it's going to be a useful learning experience for us in terms of that. You'll be also completing a simulation. It follows the same format as last week, so I won't go into too much of a detail of that. I think you'll find it useful and beneficial as well. It adds a little bit of a different perspective to what you're learning. Let me just make sure that I'm sharing the right screen with you here. Let's have a look of the last element, which is the short answer question that I have for us as it relates to our pulled hamstring. So as always, I encourage you when you're tackling these short answer questions is to look at the rubric. It guides you of what sort of things I'm looking for you in your answers. I've laid out my expectations pretty clearly. I anticipate that you'll find it relatively easy and fun thing to do as well. Finally, I want to show from this week's learning modules, just I do in my face-to-face classes, have my students build the muscles on models. So there's a bunch of videos, short videos where I've filmed the muscles that they build out of a clay on the skeleton. So that might be a nice way for some learning styles to learn these muscles as well. So I'm putting it out there. Hopefully that's useful for you. And with that having said, I think that we are, let me again share my screen. We are ready to wrap up this recording from today. Like I said, I realize it is a busy week, but I know this class, if any class, is definitely going to rise to occasion. And I look forward to your great work on our online learning space. Remember, I'm here to help, so never hesitate to drop me a message. And let's make it another great week. Thank you, and I'll see you later this week on various spaces. Until then, bye.